conversations flowing. Happy to have you all back here in the room. Welcome back. I hope your coffee was strong, because the next stretch is going to challenge about what you think about connectivity, data, and supplier resilience. Let's dive in. Our next speaker started at Oliver Wyman and Goldman Sachs, then founded Athenium, a research platform who grew to 150 million reps. Most recently, he turned around Chimondes as an interim CEO, and now he's the chief business officer at 1GLOBAL, tackling a problem we all take for granted until it breaks: connectivity. He's there to show us what cutting costs, security risks, and complexity looks like when you take full control. Please welcome on stage Matthias Denk.
Thank you. So, first of all, thank you for having me. It's one of my first conferences, I have to admit. I joined the company just 3 months ago, and also new to the world, both optimizing procurement and also telecommunications. First question, who has heard about 1GLOBAL before? Nobody. That's exactly what I expected. The same happened to me when I joined 3 months ago. I think one thing to remember, I think, and we can take away is probably next year there'll be hopefully more hands. We've heard about us before, and we talk about it in a minute. I have to admit also, as I mentioned before, I don't have a background in procurement. However, we are, as a technology firm, believe it can really change the world of how connectivity works. It's not so much about only how much a SIM card costs. There are connectivities, usually today eSIMs, we'll talk about it in a minute, but also about the complexity on all the adjacent costs around it. Starting from the complexity to exchange SIMs, maybe some of you remember with a little needle to exchange the SIM from the iPhone back in the days. All of that will change over the next years into a world of digital connectivity. That means less complexity and a lot of cost savings around the pure cost of a gigabyte. So gigabyte is a typical measurement in data and how people look at the cost. But what we also look at very importantly is the total cost of ownership. The cost to exchange, the cost of managing, the cost of legal to manage all the different contracts in the world of having connectivity, especially large organizations. So there's really a lot of hidden costs, and we have a certain way to address them. We also do a lot of other things. We'll talk about it from IoT, etc., but I don't want to bore you with too much technical details. The typical presentation from 1GLOBAL when I came is 120 pages. Today I have about 5 slides, and I hope you can just take away some of the key aspects around it. So looking at the technical summary of what we do, we have around 40 million eSIMs provisioned in the world, so we are basically an eSIM provisioning company, a technology platform. By the way, we operate pretty much like a startup. We are a telco from an infrastructure standpoint with a global MVNO, and we're also the only global and any MVNO in the world with a B2B focus. And that's really much to empower procurement teams to work more efficiently. I understand that this is also not predominantly an IT procurement event, so I want to really keep it not too boring in terms of how we do all of that technically, but I think it's a very interesting case study on how to bring together contracts. So centralization of complexity with the digital dashboard is really at the core of what we do and how we can help our clients. So maybe next slide. Are we here? All right, that's good. Yes. So we are active in around 190 countries, so pretty global. So it's also where our name comes from. By the way, we did a rebranding 3 years ago. Before the company was called Trufo, and then we rebranded into 1GLOBAL. Also, the new ownership is, I think, worth mentioning, are all entrepreneurs. None of the current leadership has a background in telecommunication, and that is more strength than weakness, because we really rethink the way how companies should work with connectivity and come with a fresh mind, so to say, look at it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. 3 things I'd like you to remember when thinking about 1GLOBAL, and I was really thinking about what are the core aspects around it. Not so much on the technical level. There are really a lot of slides around the network level, etc., which I found rather technical and too technical for this occasion. Number 1, we are pioneers in the eSIM technology. So eSIMs, maybe some of you have been in touch with before, when you travel and you land in a country to really minimize your roaming cost, is a very much of a technology of the future. I think the good news here is that gigabytes are one of the few categories where demand explodes, but prices drop. So for procurement people, one of the easy commodity areas to squeeze the lemon a bit more and save cost. So overall, the eSIM world is good news for procurement, as it's much easier from a switching cost perspective to now change device connectivity. In the past, it was, as mentioned, very nitty-gritty, changing the physical SIM. Now this is changing, and we're really much of a push factor in making changes and bringing cheaper solutions or better solutions to the procurement world, because eSIM is so much easier to deploy. Essential touch, and all of your fleets of devices, iPads, phones in the world get a new contract at better conditions. By the way, before I forget it, anybody who wants 3 gigabytes of free data, eSIM, immediately activated, come to our stand, it can be provided on your phone. Everybody likely has an eSIM slot on your phone left. So if you want to watch the World Cup, hopefully with your team making it to the quarterfinals, and you're watching it from Mallorca or anywhere from around the world, use our free data set. So what I mentioned before, we consolidate global contracts. So I think this is, in this case, it's telecommunications, it's probably a factor for some of you as well, how to centralize global complexity. And we are the only telco in the world who can do that because we have a B2B first approach. All other telcos who also do a great job, of course, but they also own the networks, the carriers, we work with them also. They have more of a consumer approach and are very siloed in each country. What we provide is the global dashboard and bring together all the contracts. This is number one. For example, to bring an example, we work a lot with Tesla. They as a client can have phones deployed with us with all these numbers, American, German numbers on the same device. So when the American colleagues call their Berlin colleagues, they call under the same country code. The German SIM has a US number and vice versa. Yeah, and it's all deployed with a central dashboard. So when it comes up with your IT colleagues, I think it's a quite exciting product proposition. Centrally controlled is the key thing here to remember. And then, yeah, I think somebody mentioned before, procurement is also about cost reduction, not very romantic, but let's face it, we are also in a world of where we want to save costs. On average, we bring down costs of connectivity by 30 to 50%. Last but not least, we are growing and are at the forefront of technology. And as nobody really knows us yet, I think this will change very soon. One of the examples why I believe our brand will also be more recognized in the future is the trust of our clients. I mentioned Tesla before. We just closed last month the largest telco contract in Europe with Lidl Schwarzkopf. It was in the news. Of course, this is just something which we are very proud of, because this is really, I think, showing, because Lidl is one of the best companies also when it comes to procurement best practices. When I was visiting them in Neckarsulm, I was really impressed how Dieter Schwarz approaches AI. And there's also one of the largest investors in data centers, as some of you might have read in the news. And Lidl is becoming our strategic partner to also empower our clients on the AI level. We work with Schwarz Digits, together to bring all the data solutions to have a better procurement access to all the data on the central level. Yeah. So that is it. So for those who haven't seen it was mid-April. Lidl is our new partner, and Lidl Schwarzkopf with Digits. Together we will help bring all the global companies' procurement in terms of telco and IT under better conditions, connectivity, products. So back again, what we are actually at. So this is the core. It's very technical. And I mentioned before from the 120 slides, I really took just 2 technical ones to give a glimpse of how we operate. So right now, these are the countries where we have our own core network, meaning we can connect these countries under the same contract. Sounds a little abstract, but imagine when you have a SIM from us, we can also give you a US number, a UK number, even a Brazilian number, via centrally deployed eSIM onto your device. In Germany, as an example for the World Cup, we're sending the ZDF, the broadcaster, there with US numbers and data for the United States, so they don't have to roam. So for maybe some of you have seen a case where some of your employees went on vacation, watched the Champions League final, and then it comes with a sticker shock of 500 euros roaming costs. This is all no longer possible with our solution. As an example, we have many APIs to optimize for different use cases. Another example is where a client closes its plant in Italy, and a lot of the SIMs which are deployed are all of a sudden empty or not deployed anymore because the people have been laid off. Unfortunately, I have to admit that layoffs have become more and more part of the game, and that means that a lot of the SIM cards need to be redeployed. When you have a central dashboard, you see that, and you can take the SIMs and put it into a different category and deploy them with different employees and save costs as well. There's a lot of hidden costs in connectivity in SIMs. So this is a little bit an overview on where we operate. So in particular, why is it important? Our strength in Master comes into play with multinational companies. Yeah? So we don't really work with local companies that much. It's really where we see most cost savings when you have multinational deployments of your fleet meaning devices and SIMs. That is a little bit a quick overview on how a network works. We can talk about it later over lunch or over drinks. It's the second technical slide I've chosen. So basically what to remember is we have everything like a telco has except for the antennas. That's how an MVNO works. So we have the carriers, the core networks, which also have these guys here, the antennas, and the MVNO operate everything else, the green tiles. Three things to remember again about why we can help procurement teams on the IT side. I understand again, of course, most of we here together today are not from the IT side, but still I think it's important to remember what we do. We have the global contract as one of the big advantages. We lower operational overhead, and you can cut your roaming costs of your employees. I think also, even if it's just 500 euros of roaming extra charges, these are completely annoying costs because they should be completely not there. It's very annoying. This is just pure commodity data, and nobody should feel bad about spending that extra cost. I remember it did happen to myself when I was in the US and using Google Maps with my German carrier, and I got like a 500 euro bill for it. This is very detailed. I don't want to go through all of the words, etc., but that's how we look at it. Total cost of ownership. In this example, we brought down costs from 450,000 roughly to 219,000 because there are so many hidden costs involved when you look at the total cost of ownership of locally managed connectivity plans versus a central dashboard. And I'm very happy to, of course, when we talk to your colleagues, we can show you some use cases. We even send us your baseline, so your cost on an anonymized basis. We calculate how much you can save within a relatively quick time turnaround. These are just a little bit of an overview of logos we work with. So all are very international brands, and we're very proud to further develop our offering. And looking forward to exchange ideas and any questions you might have in the world of eSIMs. I'm very confident that in the future we'll hear more and more about it. This is a technical transformation, changing the landscape and how procurement teams deal on these topics in the future. It is important to note that still also on the IT side, so everywhere where we have connectivity, charging stations, electric cars, drones, smart vehicles, smart industries, and all the devices around. A lot of this is still physical, because there's some legacy to it. It always takes some time to change the legacy SIM into the eSIM category, but this change is happening. We're right now at around 5% of market penetration. So hopefully, anytime in the future you hear about eSIM and how we can deploy it in a B2B context, you can think about 1GLOBAL, and maybe next year more people remember the brand. And looking forward to a discussion. Any questions, very much welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this contribution. Very interesting. I learned as well a lot when listening to you. Are there questions in the room for Matthias? No. I think you can find him on site as well.
Everybody's ready for lunch.
Probably, it's like in school, you know? You remember time in school when everybody was very fast. Okay, thank you very much for your time, Matthias.